Mr. Manish Ferwani, Mr. Kamal Oberoi, and other distinguished members of the FMS Forum, Professor Neelam Begum, distinguished speakers for today, Dr. Arvind Subramanian and Professor Ranjay Gulati, the distinguished panelists, Mr. Shyam Saran, Dr. Deepankar Gupta, Professor Jonathan Story, and Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, our distinguished moderator for the panel, Mr. Parikshit Luthra. On behalf of FMS, I welcome you all to the FMS Founders Day celebrations. I would like to extend my thanks to the faculty, both serving and superannuated, the staff of FMS, the students of FMS, the FMS alumni, and all the other participants in today's celebrations. The theme for today's deliberations is leadership in turbulent times. The world is reset. What lies ahead? There is no doubt that these are turbulent times. But is the world really reset? Or is it just taking a pause before it reverts to its old trajectory? Have we really learned any lessons from this crisis? It is important to bear in mind that history often repeats itself because we fail to learn from it. 20 million people died in World War I, and barely 20 years later, the world was embroiled in another deadly conflict, and World War II claimed 75 million lives. We humans can be slow to learn and quick to forget. So what lessons are there to learn from the current crisis? And are we learning them? The foremost lesson that this crisis should be teaching us, and this is hardly talked about, is that we should be seriously reforming animal rearing practices. The COVID virus emerged as a result of faulty animal breeding practices. The bovine spongiform or BSE virus originated from cattle, first identified in 1985. The H5N1 bird flu virus first transmitted to humans in 1997. The Nipah virus from pigs in 1999. The severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS as it's called, in 2002. The H7N7 bird flu, 2003. The H1N1 swine flu from pigs in 2009. The Middle East respiratory syndrome, or MERS, first linked to the consumption of infected camel meat in the Middle East in 2012. The list goes on. The COVID-19 event has often been called a black swan event. This description is clearly erroneous. We had sufficient warning. We simply refused to learn. As a result of COVID, many people around the world have adopted the Indian traditional way of greeting, the namaskar or namaste. Namaste etymologically is a configuration or a conjunction of two Sanskrit words, namah and asti. Namah translates to salutation. Asti means existence or being. Namaste literally means salutation to the being in you, the being in me, the being in all animals, in all sentient creatures, the being in all of nature. No wonder in India we've always treated animals with the greatest respect. Not just the holy cow, but all animals have been regarded as the manifestation of the one sacred being. In the Janta frescoes, in the sculpture of all our temples, in the miniature Mughal paintings, animals have been accorded equal space with humans. Homo sapiens, after all, is just one species in the vast animal kingdom. Traditional animal rearing practices in India have been humane. Unlike the often inhumane conditions faced by millions of animals today that are subjected to so-called modern animal industrial methods that seek to maximize profit, oblivious to the suffering inflicted on helpless creatures. It is time to fundamentally reform animal rearing practices right around the world. About 2 weeks into India's COVID-induced lockdown, on the 3rd of April this year, residents of the city of Jalandhar in the Punjab rose at dawn, rubbing their eyes to the sight of the snow-capped Dhauladhar range of the Himalayas more than 100 miles away. Air pollution had dropped so dramatically that they could see the Himalayas after decades. And indeed, in many Indian cities and globally, air pollution came down for a while. And not just air pollution. Fish could be seen after decades in the canals of Venice in Italy, in the Ganges or stretches of the Ganges in India, and the Brahmaputra. Even the Yamuna in Delhi for a while had clearer waters. After a long time, the air in Delhi was breathable again. Alas, the pollution levels have returned to the old levels in many places. Last year, 2019, was amongst the hottest years ever recorded, with wild forest fires raging in both the Amazon and in Australia. This is just another reminder from Mother Earth that she is under great strain. Global warming remains an existential threat. For the world to be reset, nations need to stop blaming each other and start taking some serious action. That brings me to my final point. All of us need to get involved. A transition will need to be quickly made from being COVID warriors to being warriors for Mother Earth. Mere adoption of more efficient fuel technologies is not going to be enough. We shall all have to re-examine our consumption patterns and our lifestyle choices. We shall have to adopt notions of reasonable sufficiency, not unlimited needs. In the language of economics, the consumer's utility function will need to change, with less reliance on material sources of satisfaction and a greater reliance on emotional, aesthetic, and cultural sources of satisfaction. Again, in this respect, India offers a rich historical treasure to draw from, both for herself and for the rest of the world. As Gandhi succinctly put it, nearly 2,500 years after Buddha's first pronouncement of this eternal truth, there is enough in the world for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. Ghalib put it in his own way. हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमा, फिर भी कम निकले. We need to get real. We need to be happy with not the maximum one can procure, but what we can procure with simplicity and humaneness and a mode of sharing. I look forward to hearing the views of all our distinguished speakers on this great and auspicious occasion of the Founders' Day of FMS. And I look forward to participation from each one of you. Finally, I'd like to thank again all of you, the FMS Forum, the faculty, students, alumni, and above all, the participants in today's function. Thank you.